Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most talked about, yet, let's be honest, widely misunderstood technologies of our generation. We are going from the absolute foundational basics all the way to the incredible real-world implications of blockchain technology. My goal here is to completely demystify this whole thing for you. No unnecessary jargon, just a clear, structured look at the tech that's actively reshaping trust, data, and our digital tomorrow.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do we actually trust strangers on the internet? Think back to that childhood game of telephone or whispers. One person whispers a message to the next, and by the time it reaches the end of the line, the original message is completely distorted or lost. Well, in the digital age, when we're dealing with our hard-earned money and sensitive personal data, that kind of distortion can be absolutely disastrous. We desperately need a way to ensure the message or the transaction remains exactly the same, no matter how many hands it passes through.
To get there, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the problem of trust, introduce the shared digital diary, and look at how a blockchain works. Next, we'll cover types of blockchains, real-world uses, and we'll wrap it all up with the future and its risks. Section 1. The problem of trust. Why blockchain? To really grasp why this tech was invented in the first place, imagine a super relatable scenario. Picture 4 friends, Jack, Ted, Sam, and Phil, trying to split a dinner bill. And of course, someone conveniently forgets their wallet. Jack pays the bill, and the next day, the guys try to send him their share from their phones. Phil's transfer goes through perfectly. But Ted and Sam's? The transactions just fail. Why? Well, maybe it's a technical glitch at the bank's server. Maybe an account was hacked, or a daily transfer limit was hit. Or maybe they're suddenly slapped with unexpected hidden transfer fees. Traditional banking relies entirely on centralized institutions, making them massive single points of failure that can easily frustrate a really simple process.
So the contrast here is pretty clear. On one side, centralized systems rely entirely on vulnerable, fee-charging middlemen, like banks or payment apps. If their server goes down, your money stops moving, period. On the flip side, decentralized networks have no single authority. Verification happens peer-to-peer, making the whole system incredibly robust and completely immune to those central failures. This heavy reliance on a middleman, that's the exact core problem that cryptocurrency and blockchain were designed to solve.
Section 2. The shared digital diary, a simple analogy. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can take the complex concept of decentralization and turn it into a simple, everyday analogy. Think of a blockchain as exactly that, a transparent, unchangeable, decentralized digital diary. Let's say you and your friends start a book club. Instead of relying on one designated person to keep track of who has which book, you create a shared document. Every single time a book changes hands, everyone writes it down in their own copy of the diary at the exact same time. Because this diary is distributed across everyone's computers, entries can be seen by everyone but erased by no one. If someone tries to lie and claim they returned a book when they actually didn't, everyone simply checks their document. The lie is instantly rejected. And that brings us to this absolutely brilliant quote, "Trust the math, not the middleman." This beautifully summarizes blockchain's primary purpose. It establishes absolute trust in a trustless environment. You don't need to inherently trust the person you're transacting with halfway across the globe, and you don't need to trust a bank. The unchangeable, mathematically verified, completely transparent records do all the trusting for you. Section 3. How a blockchain works. Let's look under the hood. It's time for us to peel back the layers of that shared diary analogy and see the actual digital mechanics driving this network. But before we get into the gears and wires, let's grab some swift historical context. A lot of people just assume Bitcoin invented blockchain, but the foundational idea actually dates way back to 1991, when researchers first described a technique for timestamping digital documents so they couldn't be tampered with. The tech sat mostly unused for years until 2009, when the pseudonymous Satoshi Nakamoto adapted it to launch Bitcoin. And as the tech matured, so did its complexities. Just look at events like the infamous DAO hack in 2016, an early decentralized organization built right on the Ethereum network. So yeah, the foundational idea is way older than you might think. So the crucial point is understanding what actually holds this whole thing together, the cryptographic hash. Think of a hash as a unique digital fingerprint generated directly from the data inside a specific block. If a hacker tries to change even a single detail in that block, like say sneaking an extra 0 onto a money transfer, the hash changes entirely. And here is the real magic. Because every block securely contains the hash of the block right before it, altering one block literally breaks the entire chain. It invalidates every single block that follows it.
It is fundamentally, mathematically, tamper-proof.
And where does that unbreakable chain begin? With what we call the Genesis block. This is a foundational term you absolutely should know. It's the very first block in any blockchain network. It's totally unique because it is the only block that cannot point to a previous block's hash, simply because, well, nothing came before it. Every massive chain in existence, no matter if it's millions of blocks long, traces its unbroken lineage all the way back to its very own Genesis block. Let's walk through the specific 6-step life cycle of a transaction to see this in action. Step 1. A user initiates a transaction. Step 2. Independent computers on the network, which we call nodes, verify the transaction details. Step 3. The verified transaction is grouped into a brand new block. Step 4. That block is given its unique hash and mathematically linked to the previous block. Step 5. The network reaches consensus that the block is indeed valid. And finally, Step 6. The transaction is permanently completed and recorded for everyone to see. Now about Step 5. How exactly does a decentralized network agree on the truth without a boss calling the shots? They do it through consensus mechanisms. The two biggest ones are proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work, which is what Bitcoin uses, is basically a traditional mathematical race. Miners compete using massive energy-intensive computing power to solve complex puzzles and validate the blocks. To put that in perspective, Bitcoin's network uses more electricity than some entire countries. Proof of stake, on the other hand, is a more modern approach used by networks like Ethereum. Here, validators are chosen based on the capital they've staked or locked up in the network. There are no massive mining rigs needed, just financial commitment. But at the end of the day, both methods achieve the exact same goal: decentralized truth.
Section 4. Types of blockchains. Network variations.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Because as this technology has evolved, businesses realize that not all blockchains can or frankly should be completely open to the general public. We've got 4 distinct network variations here. Public blockchains, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, are completely open to anyone. They're highly secure, sure, but they can be slower due to their massive size. Now, businesses often require private blockchains, which are restricted by administrators to keep sensitive data fast and secure. Then we have consortium blockchains, which are controlled by a group of organizations. These are perfect for things like shared banking networks that need a balance of openness and strict control. Finally, hybrid blockchains mix elements of both. It's crucial to understand that corporations are actively using these private and consortium chains right now to protect their data while still getting the benefits of the core technology.
Section 5. Real-world applications. Beyond crypto.
I want to shift our focus completely away from just cryptocurrencies for a moment to demonstrate the incredible versatility and real-world power of this technology. The varied use cases here are genuinely staggering. We are looking at transparent supply chains where you can verify a product's exact journey from farm to table, secure digital identities that make identity theft incredibly difficult, decentralized finance, or DeFi, which is actively replacing traditional banks and is absolutely vital for empowering unbanked populations in emerging markets where bank infrastructure just doesn't even exist. It also paves the way for tamper-proof voting systems, interoperable healthcare records that you actually control, and smart contracts, which are self-executing digital agreements that ensure artists automatically receive their copyright royalties without chasing people down. And this brilliantly illustrates how this abstract tech solves very real, expensive corporate headaches. Look at Walmart. They were dealing with high return rates on produce, but couldn't pinpoint the point of failure in their massive supply chain. It's like a giant puzzle. So they adopted blockchain to track goods from the farm all the way to the store. Because every single step was permanently inscribed in a block, when a customer flagged a damaged product, Walmart could perfectly trace it back and identify exactly where in the chain the damage occurred. It fixed their problem and dramatically reduced refunds. A real game changer. Section 6. The future and its risks. Vulnerabilities ahead. Now, while this technology is undeniably revolutionary, we have to be completely objective here. It is not without its significant vulnerabilities and massive future challenges. One of the most critical structural risks is represented by this SIMPI number, 51%. The 51% attack. This is a terrifying scenario where a single entity, or a group acting maliciously, gains control of more than half of a network's mining power. If they achieve that majority, the decentralized nature of the network just collapses. They could effectively rewrite the truth, manipulate block verification, and even double spend their coins. Now, while executing a 51% attack on a massive chain like Bitcoin is incredibly difficult and wildly expensive, it absolutely remains a known fundamental vulnerability. Beyond that, as we move into the wild frontier of Web3, we face other hurdles. Code vulnerabilities like smart contract bugs remain a constant threat to user funds. But the upside is just immense. We're looking at the dawn of Web 3.0, a decentralized internet where you, the user, finally own your own data, privacy. We're seeing the birth of a global token economy where you can seamlessly trade fractions of real estate on a blockchain. And perhaps most mind-bending is the convergence with AI, where blockchains could provide the transparent, tamper-proof records necessary to monitor the decisions made by autonomous AI systems. But I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. There is a massive technological storm on the horizon. As quantum computers continue to rise in power, they actively threaten to break the very cryptography that secures these blockchains today. It is the ultimate test. Will blockchain developers adapt and implement quantum-resistant defenses fast enough to secure our decentralized future? The race is on, and it is a thrilling space to watch. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions and keep exploring.